Hello and welcome. I'm Ben, and in today's video we're going to talk about the ideation stage, the dreaming stage of starting your own business. This is the first video of a mini-series that will go on for 12 or so videos talking about taking the business all the way from inception to launch to market. If you haven't already, make sure to check out my previous video where we talk about every individual step on a high level perspective of what to expect. So if that does sound of interest, this is definitely the video for you. So what is the ideation stage, you're probably thinking? I always phrase it in a couple of problem statements. Have you always wanted to launch a business, but you never know really what idea is viable? You don't know really what aligns to your skill set and your passion, your interests. You don't really know the building blocks of brainstorming and how to capture those ideas, how to speak to people, how to research the viability of a product, and trying to find its value proposition. These are all the problem statements that really build off this stage. So I've got some practical examples. I'm going to go through some material today. It is loosely high level, so if you do have any further questions, I do recommend posting in the comments and, asking away. I'm always open ears to hear so. Before I start, it would be a shame of me not to plug some material I've just launched on my website. It's called the Business Checklist, where it'll have some practical examples on each stage that we'll cover in this mini-series. It's completely free. There's a link in the description. Feel free to download it, use it to your heart's content. Like I said, it's quite generic, so there's going to be staged where I will be missing out things. It's just going to hopefully provide a bit of a template and a guideline for your own business. So just feel free to check it out. Drop me a line if you like the content. I'm very interested to hear thoughts and opinions on its viability and how useful it is, because I really want to start creating more and more content which is valuable for new entrepreneurs, people who are starting their own business, or people who are an established business but they may be a bit lost in regards to where to go next. Let me know. But yeah, shameless plug, but please check it out. Now let's jump straight into the content and see what I'm talking about when it comes to ideation. So we talked loosely what ideation means, and these are the kind of outcomes that I've pulled together that we're looking to get out of this stage really. It's firstly finding your business driver, and that's effectively the why. Why is that product relevant to what you want to take to market? We'll also be capturing kind of your key strengths, your key skills, your key passions, interests. I find those are super valuable, especially when you're doing something. Starting a business isn't a short-term thing. You need to be passionate about what you're producing, what you're trying to change, basically trying to make it relevant to the customers. And if you don't like it and you're not passionate about it, it comes across quite significantly to your audience. So it's finding something which you can be absorbed into and you don't mind spending a couple of hours in an evening tinkering away at social media or producing products or speaking to people because you care about its outcome. We'll also be able to produce in this video a list of product ideas. Like, you've got your alignment to your passions, and now you're like, okay, so what products do I need to select, or what can I select which are aligned to those interests? We'll also be talking about the viability of those ideas. So it's brilliant having a catalogue of ideas which are viable based on your interest, but how suitable are they to market? And what you don't want to do is invest a significant period of time into a product that you're building if the market's in decline. I'm going to use a reference: DVDs. Imagine if you invested all your time and efforts producing a DVD company, but actually, in the next couple of years, Netflix comes around and it's no longer viable. So this is kind of I'll provide some practical examples how you do that, to making sure that the product that you select is viable. And lastly is kind of the value proposition. Does it resonate to the market? Are customers asking for the product that you're looking into? So hopefully at the end of all these kind of outcomes, you'll have a short list of products that you really want to take to the next stage, which is stage 2, which is the in-depth research stage around various things. So that's what we're going to be talking about and digging into today. Finding your dream product, and that's Not as easy as people think it is. For myself, it's not too bad because I'm a very visionary, dreaming kind of person. But some people, this is actually quite difficult. And hopefully I can, over the next kind of bit of material that I'll be covering, I'll help you, I'll capture a few things which will help that process a little bit easier. So the first thing really, before you dig into this stage, is you have to be genuinely curious. You have to be mentally kind of out there and open to ideas. And that could be like, how could you solve a problem which is frustrating you in real life? Can you make somebody's life easier by doing something different? Or is there existing products in the market which actually you could do better? This is the kind of curiosity you need to do. And the way I always say it is like there's 3 particular things that I always say align on. I'm not going to talk about problem statements in this one. It'll be in the next slide really. But I always say like capture what you're actually passionate about. For myself, I'm passionate about the outdoors. I'm passionate about nature. I love traveling. These are my passions, and you have to capture these, because what I'd say is like, if you haven't got a digital whiteboard, just write post-it notes. Like your passion could be sports, it could be fragrances, it could be plants, it could be flowers, it could literally be anything. So what is your passion? Capture those things that you strive for and love. Another thing is like capture your interests. What do you like doing in your free time? Do you like listening to music? Do you like reading? Do you like creating things with your hand? Are you a creative person? Are you artistic? These are the things you capture. And lastly is kind of what you're good at. And naturally, if you're a professional, you'll have skill sets that have been developed over a numerous amount of years. So for myself, like I'm a technologist, so that is a big strength of mine, which I need to lean upon. What we want to do in this stage is really capture those things that you love to do. If you're struggling for inspiration of that, spend 30 minutes every evening looking at blogs, researching online, looking at news stories, going on Amazon, look at what products that align to these interests. And what I've kind of pulled together is really a table, and I'll go through it right now. And we've talked about like passion, I'll talk briefly about that one in a second. We talked about interest, we talked about skills. Lastly, thing that I haven't touched upon really on the last slide is the problem statements. And I referred to when I mentioned you have to be curious. It's those problems that you want to fix. Maybe there's something there's no product out there. That's a gap in the market. Is there things with an existing product which is frustrating? Maybe it doesn't do something that you're looking for really, and you just have to put up with it. These are gaps and opportunities. And I pulled together this table. This is what I use to create my dream products, is things that I'm passionate about, and sometimes these change, but often they're quite static. Problem statements, these are the things that flux and change over time, depending on where your research and what you're digging into. Your interests, as referred to, is are you creative, are you artistic? Capture those there, and they can sometimes change based on your age, your experiences. And lastly is your skills. What do you do on a day-to-day? How do you make your income? Are you full-time? Are you part-time? What you call, if you're at a pub and you're speaking to somebody going, what you're good at, those are the things that you want to put in that table. And how that looks like for me is this. This is what I put together for when I was creating Essence, my business, which is, okay, so what are my passions? So I really love nature. I love being outdoors. It's my downtime. It makes me feel peaceful. It makes me feel connected to myself. I love traveling. I love meeting new cultures. I like absorbing myself into different experiences. And the other one is mindfulness. I love emotional intelligence. I love what makes people tick. And that's a real niche for me, because it's like, how do I make somebody feel better? That's a passion. Like when I talk about my skill sets, I'm a technologist. So technology has to be a number one there. Part of my job is I also manage budgets. Okay, that's a good strength. I spend a lot of my time online researching brands and building awareness because of the companies that I work for. Okay, those are some pretty big strengths that I can lean into a business. What are the problem statements? So I observed that a lot of products are quite generic. They haven't got really much personality. There's not really any thoughtfulness around how they're supposed to make people feel better. And there was a limited amount of brands focused on nature. So if I want to bring a product into my home, or I want to make myself feel relaxed. There's very little out there. Or if they are out there, they're heavily overpriced, and it was extremely frustrating. Lastly is interests. I mentioned it earlier. I love getting outdoors. I love hiking. I love photography. I love smelling things, fragrances. So when I want to come up with a product, it has to be somewhat aligned to that, because they're the things that are going to drive me forward, things that are second nature to me because I enjoy doing it and I'm good at. So for yourself, either print off the table that I've just referred to earlier, or create this on a post-it note somewhere on a whiteboard or a notepad, and write them down. You'll be surprised what you capture. And these will be the foundations of when you start coming up with product ideas. So this is the first part of your brainstorming, is exploring those elements. I think that's a super important element that a lot of businesses forget about. They always think about just the problem statements, but actually think about what you're passionate about, because it will come across a lot to your audience. So based on that exercise, these are the kind of some of the outcomes that I need to look at as a business to go into. So for me, because I'm a technologist, I have to really look at building an online store, take advantage of my skill set when it comes to understanding online brands, building websites, integrations and stuff. I think that was number one. So as you can see there, that's aligned to a skill set. The problem statement that I've captured is a focus on generating a niche, unique artisan brand and style, because that was one of the problem statements I identified part of that exercise. It needs to be inspired by nature. It's a passion of mine. And any product that I create must be inspired by the outdoors. It must be able to invoke an experience. That's part of my interest, my artistic kind of flair, creativity flair, I guess, is it must be experience invoking. And lastly is, because of my skill set in budgets, I should be able to create a startup with a small budget. Unlike, I guess, some entrepreneurs, I don't have lots of capital, so I should be able to fine tune a budget relatively well. So that is also a skill set that is aligned. So these are the 5 things. I probably could have created more. I just wanted to bring some examples to the table based on that prior slide that I just covered. These are the things and outcomes that I need to look for when it comes to selecting a product. So this is the first stage. And then the next stage that we'll cover in a second is generating the ideas. So I will have these at the forefront of my mind, which is when I select any product and start thinking about the concept in my head of like, can I make this a reality, has to be aligned to these 5. And yours will be slightly different, I imagine, but everybody's unique in their own ways. But having these gives me a massive advantage when it comes to product selection and then, I guess, the viability of that product. So now, as you can see, we've now moved across to start aligning some product ideas to that quadrant table that I showed. So the one on the left is left field, completely left field, based on some other examples that I guess other individuals might come together. But as you can see, this table is very rudimentary, but it gives you some kind of flavor of things that I researched when I just went on Amazon, or I went on a few blogs, or spoke to a few friends. So, you might really enjoy sports, soccer, football. I'm UK, so that is a real bad thing to be putting down there. I just realised I put soccer, but you get the idea. So, because I enjoy football, I might want to start looking at creating my own football boots. An idea could be viable, unique. If you love beauty and nature, you might want to have your own flower stall or delivery service when it comes to flowers. If you enjoy education and teaching, come up with an online course. Teach people around a particular subject that you really enjoy or you got a particular skill set for. So for me, like when I was looking at my alignment, I love scents. I really enjoy nature and being outdoors. I need something with low overheads because I've got low capital. I need something that I can start small and scale up. And when I started to look at that, I was like, oh, candles, it's not overly complicated. It can be if you desire that way, but it's easier to start up and educate yourself on. Diffusers are a very closely aligned subject, so these could work. And this table just gives you an idea. You could probably go for lots of layers, but this is very closely aligned to the foundations that we covered in the last few slides, which is these are passions that I'm aligned to and I could be really passionate about and could be really powerful when it comes to developing my business. Before I move on, just wanted to say, like, this is very personal to you. It's very hard for me to come up with examples, and this is hopefully a practical example to align products to your foundations as referenced in the quadrant. Take your time over it, take a couple of weeks. It took me at least 4 weeks to come up with the final kind of list of products that I like. And a lot of the time it's around you. Candles and diffusers I invest in a lot of. I generally do love scents and making my home smell good. Just spend your time over it, and that's the only thing I'd really say before moving on to the next stage, which is once you've got your ideas, now we need to see how viable they are. Now we moved on to the product viability, and this can be quite complicated. I try and keep it as simple as possible at this stage because we can go into more depth when it comes to the second stage of your business startup process, which is the in-depth product research. But there's a few things that you can do to really narrow down those product ideas. And I'll show some examples on my screen now. The first one is called scoreapp, and it gives you a list of questions that people are asking in the open market around particular products. So when I started to go down my list, so I had a list of, I think it was like 12 things, from candles, diffusers, coffee, soaps, gin, lots of examples. I use this. So what is actually really popular, and this in front of you right now gives you an example. So for example, candles, what are candles safe is one of the things which is quite common when it comes to the what questions. So what candles are safe on the market? When we look at who makes candles, really generic questions, but it gives you an idea, like, are people searching for stuff on your product? That gives you an idea of potential viability when it comes to a product idea. So if you were, I mentioned the last one, football boots. Are people searching for football boots? What questions are they asking? This is also super valuable when it comes to your marketing. Way later in the process is like, how do you create content which aligns to these questions? Because this is what people are asking for, trying to get that product in front of people's faces. So that's the first one, is scoreapp. It's free. I'll leave a few descriptions in the comments in regards to if you want to do your own, but highly recommend this as the first stage when it comes to checking product viability. The second one is, this is a bit of research that I did online in regards to what are the functional benefits of candles. So did the first stage looking at scoreapp. Then I looked at, like, okay, brilliant creating a candle. Everybody creates a candle, but how do I align that to one of my passions, which is thought-provoking, experience-invoking, and stuff like this. And these are the things that I captured. So as you can see here, reinforcing it, or kind of covering base odors. People buy candles for different reasons. Either it's to improve their mood, have a pleasant experience, elicit emotions. Okay, so I need to really focus on the emotional benefits of a product, less so about the functional benefits. Yes, it's great having a smelling product, but I also want to focus on the emotional benefits. So that's the first one, is do some, Google is your friend. Google, like, I'm going to keep using the football boots because it's an example that I'm going to keep going along with. What are people focusing on when it comes to football boots? I can use a few examples myself. It needs to be comfy. It needs to be firm when it comes to kicking a ball. It needs to hopefully mitigate any injury. These are the things that you need to really look at. I got these design principles that helped out when it comes to designing the product viability. So these are things that I really captured when I did some research when it comes to, it needs to be easy to find the product. It needs to feel small batch, micro, artisan. It needs to be characteristic. It needs to be honest, raw when it comes to kind of my kind of rustic feel of the product. So these are things that I captured doing that exercise that I just referred to, is trying to capture all these little niche elements and seeing, going, okay, I can make a candle work. A few apps that I will leave in the description, Google Trends. So look at how popular a product is. See how often it's being searched for. This will give you an idea in regards to traffic patterns. If you search for a candle as an example, you'll see that it's seasonal based. Candle popularity spikes up around winter because people are indoors. They want to smell a nice product. They want to feel better. They want to feel cozy. Jungle Scout is another example of doing some product research. Jungle Scout is an application which looks at Amazon and seeing what public products are selling more so than others. So if you're doing football boots, what type of football boots are selling better than others? And that could be based on better premium material and leather. That could be AstroTurf over studs. These are the things and the examples of using technology to your own for your own benefit. I think like just using some of these practical examples really gives you an idea of this product could work. It could be really, I could get myself behind this. Not only am I passionate about it, but the market's actually possible and there is a demand out there for it. So we come to the end of the material that I really wanted to cover today. I've got a few more examples of how I use this for Essence, and I'll go over to Notion, my trusty business management system that I've put together, which I showed in a prior video. But a real big outcomes of this process is really, firstly, finding what you're passionate about, what you care about, what your interests, how do they align to your skill set. We've touched upon how you can then start looking at products which are aligned to those areas that you've captured. Then based on those products, we've looked at the market using some technology to see the viability in the market. Is there demand for this product? Is there a niche which you can really penetrate as a business? These are all powerful tools that really give you a solid foundation to move to the next stage, which is the researching stage. So let's just quickly jump into Notion so I can show you how I did this, and then hopefully give you some inspiration for your own business venture. So this is the super high level kind of Notion page that I pulled together when I was coming up with my original concept design for my business Essence. And as you can see here, I referenced it in the video. Firstly is brainstorming those product concepts, and that is effectively kind of what I demonstrated earlier in the video around what do I care about, what am I passionate about, what products resonate with those and align to what I care about. And the key resonating factor was candles, diffusers. So once I did that, then I moved on to the kind of next card here, which is brainstorming the candle ideas. So that refers to the research that I showed earlier, is like I need something which is experience invoking, it needs to smell nice, it needs to be powerful when it comes to its scents, it needs to be nice to be around, it wants to elevate moods. So this is where I started to capture how do I do that, like in that regard. Then I started to catalogue kind of real candle brands which either have the right branding but maybe not particular when it comes to nature. So I was trying to find a gap in the market there. So I was capturing the brands which maybe resonate from a branding point of view but miss out when it comes to the nature sort of gap, the opportunity. Then I really dug into learning what was involved in candle making, checking the viability, what was possible, and lastly is the laws. Didn't really talk about that in the video because we'll cover that in the second one because I go into a lot more detail part of the phase 2 or stage 2, which is the researching stage. But otherwise, that's the main gist of kind of how I structured my Notion to capture these tasks to keep me focused on what I needed to do. So it gives you a bit of a flavour of things when it comes to Notion and how I structured my plan for the business. So that's it. That's the end of the ideation stage. Hopefully you found it useful and informative, and it gives you an idea of your own business and how you might want to get started really. Before I finish, just wanted to shout out again and plug my free business checklist. If you found this material particularly interesting, you'll definitely love the core content of the business checklist. There is a link in the description. I've also released other material on my website, free Notion guides. It's all free, it's all open. Feel free to download and use for whatever you wish for your own business. If you have found this content really enjoyable and you want to feedback how you're getting on, please leave a comment and a like. It really does support in regards to engagement and get me in front of other audiences. Definitely want to be helping other entrepreneurs on this journey. Also, if you want to stay tuned for the next stage, which is the researching stage, which we go into a lot more detail around how to really research the products that you've selected part of this process. Stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. I'll be releasing that in the next fortnight or so. But otherwise, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you. See you now.